Hello everyone, welcome back to Eva Green Month. Today we'll be talking about the film Cracks. If you watch any other of my Eva Green Month videos, you know that Cracks is by far my favorite film. It's a beautifully shot, dramatic, moving, and disturbing piece with all the elements that I love in dramas and in film. So basically, you should go watch it. Now we have the really hard part out of the way. Let's get into the discussion of the film. No, we're gonna lay down a spoiler alert now because I'm sure I'm gonna cover at some point one spoiler, and you can only watch about 20 minutes of the film without being spoiled. So let's get going. Now this introduction, I love it so much. So you have Di and Miss G. Miss G is Eva Green's character. Di, ooh, what's her name again? Juno Tempo. Wrote it down. They're on the boat, and we can already see that Di's kind of obsession with Miss G is starting there. But that's not the part I love. The one I love is when they're all in the church singing the song, and we get a shot of pretty much all of the characters, and then we have Miss G who comes sauntering up, looking all fancy, and everyone, especially Di, goes to turn and look at her, and we can already kind of see the Miss G as a perfect person. She's perfect to Di, she's perfect to everyone, she's always composed, she always looks flawless. So it's a great introduction and easily shows us all the main players very quickly. Now one of my favorite scenes in the movie is the desire scene. Oh boy. It's just so well acted to me, and it's just it's great how much passion Eva Green put into the character. It just seems very passionate and very charismatic. I love that scene though with the desire. It's so well done, and this movie, I feel Eva Green should have gotten at least award nomination for something. She didn't get any nominations, she didn't get any awards. Well, that would be obvious if she didn't get any nominations. But this movie, she really deserved it because I think she's absolutely great in it. I also found it interesting while watching the film. Di always seems to kind of be trying to emulate Miss G. So whenever she concluded, like the dinner scene very early on in the film, the breakfast, she looks over at Miss G and then she starts being kind of horrible to her other team member, either because she thinks Miss G doesn't think this team member is as good, or she wants to emulate and be like Miss G, that she doesn't want any kind of weakness or imperfection, and she wants them all to know that she's the boss. So I think she's just trying to emulate, or she feels threatened, and she doesn't want to lose that special position she's in with Miss G. I also like it in the church where she says that, when she's in the church, now I remember it, when she's in the church, and she's talking about the butter and half a sin, and that she's been having a lot of lustful thoughts lately. That's obviously a hint to Miss G. She's having some thoughts about her. So there's a lot of foreshadowing in this movie. One of my favorites, however, is the moment of foreshadowing is when they're all coming back from, I think they were swimming, or something to that effect. Or it's a scene right after they were filming, and Fiona, one of the girls, puts a black spot on her face, and of course if you've read Treasure Island, you know that means she's going to die. Now you might think, they're just playing a joke on her. Or are they? Bet you didn't notice that till now. Thou hast been warned. I also really love how it's clearly Di trying to make all the girls hate her, Fiona, but in reality, it's just, like, one of my favorite parts is, oh, I told you she is a real princess, as one of the little girls say, and it's like, oh, you're so sweet, why must you be in this boarding school? It destroys everyone, apparently. Oh man, it's so sad. So sad. A few other scenes that I loved was the swimming scene. That is so beautifully shot. This movie is just absolutely gorgeous to look at. The cinematography is great. And as I found out, the same cinematographer, because this is directed by Jordan Scott, Ridley Scott's daughter. So the cinematographer is the exact same one from Kingdom of Heaven. So these look absolutely gorgeous, and you just, it made me want to visit Ireland because it's so beautiful and pretty, and it's great. I loved it. I loved it. Actually, let's talk about the characters for a bit. So obviously Eva Green is the best part of this movie. I mean, Di and Fiona are very, very good, the two actresses that play them, but Miss G is the highlight. She is the only one who has her name, not even Jordan Scott, Ridley Scott's daughter. It goes Eva Green and then cracks. So, Ridley Scott suggested Eva Green for this part to play Miss G just because of his former work with her on Kingdom of Heaven. Now, this was a great idea because I think of all the roles Eva Green has played so far, this is my favorite, and I think this is the one she does the best in. It plays all her strengths: a very damaged character, a very evil, arguably evil, but manipulative character. It puts the femme fatale and the broken aspects, the broken character she plays, and puts them all together. And it's just so beautifully done. Some say, I guess they could say it's overacted, but I don't really think so. I think it's perfectly acted, and I think she's amazing. I really do think she should have been nominated, or at least nominated, but she should have won an award for this performance. Her character, I love movies, I think I've said this in a previous Eva Green Month video, that have it so we see a character in a perfect character, and then we slowly see the flaws and their lies coming out slowly. So Miss G is pretty much the whole movie is about her, and it just fits the bill perfectly. As the movie continues, we see layers and layers of her lying. So in the beginning, for when she talks about traveling, it's hinted at very early on that she didn't really travel, and Fiona's the one who kind of calls her out on it. And I also noticed while we were watching the movie, she always, whenever she talks about her travels, it's always in a storytelling kind of voice. And it's especially noticeable in the swimming scene because it's so well done. I mean, we already talked about that. But in the swimming scene, she started talking about her travels, I think to India it was. And it comes out in a very storytelling kind of way, but especially when they're all in, I don't know if it's Miss G's room, it must be, where they're all sitting and she's talking about a trip to Africa with an alligator killing a man, and that was very storytelling kind of voice. So, you can kind of call her out then. And I don't want to say, because Miss G, I think she read them enough to make it seem so real to her, so the wording is not too off from how she sounds, presumably because a lot of what she read would influence how she speaks, but you can definitely tell when something's off. I also noticed in the movie, she has a transformation, so in the beginning she wears a lot of colorful colors, very upbeat, very vibrant, and by the end she's wearing, or at the very last scene, she's in a dark, gloomy outfit, so because she's completely destroyed herself. So yeah, I noticed that throughout the film, that as she falls more and more into obsession, loses more and more sight of herself, she wears darker and less bright colors. But great. And I also like, Eva Green plays Miss G like a human being. She plays her not as some evil, maniacal person, but she plays her as a real person with a real obsession over someone else, and it annoys her and makes her upset that she can't have this person, or this person doesn't want to have anything to do with her. And it's just so, she plays it so well because it feels so human, and it feels like she doesn't feel like, it makes it seem to us that what Miss G thinks she's doing is for the best, just because of how well it's portrayed. And also, I think it doesn't help Fiona in any way to call Miss G out on her lies, because once her persona is destroyed, that was probably the only thing preventing Miss G from going full-out obsessive over her. So maybe that wasn't the best of ideas. Oh, and I love also the scene near the end where she manipulates Di into pretty much murder, and it's just so well done. It shows how much, and I also like how it was all about Fiona for the longest time, and then of course when she needs Di, she can just turn it back on, and then completely make it so Di is in love with her again. And that manipulation thing is so well done that, like, Di has no reason to disbelieve Miss G, but of course as they run away, we see Miss G sitting there, just knowing what she's done. The sneaky monster. Move on to Dai. This is a really good... I wanted to also note that the main players of this movie were all adults. Dai was an adult, Fioma was an adult. The only one I think that wasn't an adult were the actual little kids. I'm surprised, you wouldn't be able to tell. They're supposed to be 14 or so. That's the closest number I can think of, 14, 16. Not 18, but around that age range. So, I don't know if it's a trick of the camera or they're all just tiny, but it's so well done. They all portray it like they're younger children. You wouldn't believe that they're adults, and I don't know if it's Fioma or Juno that's close to Eva Green in age. Like, she's not that much older than them. She does a really good job in this movie, and she really shows her obsession with Miss G, but without ever being super, super direct about it. It's always a very subtle... This film is full of, maybe you could argue not Eva Green, but all of them are pretty subtle in a lot of ways. A lot of them have little subtle scenes that reveal a lot about them. But I think Dai is more jealous of Fioma than anything else. Like, once they start to bond, they're pretty good friends. But like, once that attention drastically goes back with Miss G and Fioma, like, once again, that's when Dai has an issue with it, and that's when Dai gets sent over the edge. And she just is in Miss G's control so much. It's so sad. But yes, Dai is great in this movie. The actress played her during Tempo is amazing. With Fioma, she's great. She's so tragic. I mean, we obviously can tell that she's in the right, but in the beginning she does kind of have a bit of an attitude, and I think the scene where Miss G and Dai confront her as she's kind of avoiding them all, saying that, you know, you have to realize that this is forever, that you're here because you don't want to be, and then Fioma's like, well, I'm gonna go anyway. But I think in the same time, she realizes once she does that phone call that she's stuck there, and she does try to make the best of the situation, but, you know, it is a sad realization that a lot of these girls just think they're there for a bit, but in the end, they're probably going to be there for a very long time, and if they're as damaged as Miss G, then they won't be leaving anytime soon. They won't be leaving anytime soon. But yeah, Fioma's great and so tragic and sad, and because if she didn't do a good performance, then you wouldn't feel sad about her outcome, but you do, and it's just a terrifying, disturbing, beautiful, this movie. One part I really loved though about the movie, again, with the slow unveiling of Miss G's kind of lies. The first one I liked when Miss Niven, the headmistress of the school, who also was in Camelot, fun fact, is like, oh, you know this all too well, Miss Griffin. And then she points to the picture of when Miss G was there for all of her life. So basically, because of how... Oh, and the line, I don't want you to experience how perilous the world will be. So we know that she's lied, and now we're... I feel so sad. But, yeah. So I love that slow reveal, though. I mean, that one's kind of blatant, but another one that, you know, I wouldn't want you to find out. So, I mean, she could still travel, she's just never left. But when Eva Green's line, when Miss G says, I don't care for open water, then that's like, you got... She can never adventure, she's too afraid to leave, and I love the scene where she goes out in public to try to get some treats and sweets for Fioma to try to win her favor back. And she's just, I think someone said, or it's a pretty good guess, because the movie, you can watch the movie pretty easily. Not gonna expand on that, but she's in the town and she's whispering under her breath. So someone suggested that it might be her repeating the order, which would be very interesting. So that would make her very antisocial and very uncomfortable to be around other people, or people she couldn't have immediate control over, because in a school hierarchy, she obviously is higher up than the students, so she is safe in that environment, but anyone she could be equals with, it makes her very uncomfortable. And when she goes into the shop and those two gentlemen come in, which is very suspicious, I have to say, and she's trying to buy sweets, but she's panicking because she's getting nervous about what they might do and what he might do, and she wants to get out of the situation, but she has to pay for the things because she wants to be like, ugh. And just, it's so well done, and it just shows how damaged Miss G is. And I think the scene at the end where she's sitting in her room, this is probably one of my favorite scenes. I have a lot of them because this is one of my favorite movies, but when she sits there and she's setting up her room in the village, and because she has to go through a leave of absence due to the suspicious circumstances in which Fioma had died, So, and then she's on the side table, she's counting all the things out that she can put on there. And of course, that's what happened earlier in the film with all the girls, that they could only have five objects on their desk or nightstand. So it just goes to show, like, how damaged she is and how broken a character she is, that, you know, she can't really, because she was stuck in that boarding school for so long, she can't really exist in the outside world, and the fact that she feels the need that she has to do that just shows that being in that school was not great for her. It kind of destroyed whatever kind of person she could have been in the end, so sad. I think it's a great ending, though. And the fact that Dai is able to escape is great. Good for her. Good for her to avoid becoming the next Miss G, although I doubt that would happen with her. She seems a bit more convicted. But who knows? Maybe with her obsession of Miss G, she might end up that way, or Miss G being the pinnacle of what she feels she should be. Now, after the scene where let's go over the ending. So, Miss G has manipulated Dai and the other girls to kind of turn on Fiona, saying, oh, you know, she will spread hateful lies about me, and of course Dai saw the rape happening, or because if you've seen the film, you know what I mean, but eventually, actually, let's go back to the sex scene I use loosely, because it's more a rape, and it's not really a scene, more or less, in the full-blown sense, but I know some people, because of that one scene, they're like, oh, this is a lesbian movie. It's not. It's more a sexual awakening moment than a lesbian movie, and you can't really call it that if there's only barely one thing. I mean, yeah, it's not, just to call it just that is not right. It's a drama, it's a thriller, it's a lot of other things than just a lesbian movie. And it's not even a major part of the film. It's more their obsession with Miss G and Miss G's obsession with Fiona and all that. It's more about obsessive love than anything else, okay? But yeah, that one scene happens, and of course Dai assumes that Fiona seduced Miss G because she's just so loyal to Miss G, because of course you'd think that. So they confront her, and they want her to admit that what she's done to Miss G, or Dai does. So of course she takes away the inhaler. They pretty much bully Fiona throughout the whole film, so this isn't too far out. But they grab the inhaler and it's like, oh, admit it, blah, blah, blah. And then Fiona, eventually, she can't breathe because she suffers asthma and she needs this inhaler. Slaps Dai, and of course, that sets that was not a good idea, no matter what. This sets a whole chain reaction, so they end up chasing her, and they think they're gonna play a game, you know, scare her, you know, don't hit the captain. But of course, they hit her enough with sticks and punch that it sends her, I think, into an asthma attack. Yeah, it must be. So of course, they're like, oh shoot, we shouldn't have done this. So the guy's like, go get some teachers, go get some help. And then of course she looks around for the inhaler, trying to save Fiona, and of course, bam, Miss G, scary. She's like, I'll take care of this, Dai. And of course Dai, because she can't obviously see that at this point Miss G's behind everything, runs off and gets the headmistress, and then the death happens. So it's just so beautifully disturbing. So you have Miss G cradling Fiona, you know, telling her that she was not meant for this world, that basically she was not meant for the world, she was too perfect, and she basically lets Fiona die. More or less to keep her position secure. But of course, Dai comes back as Miss G is planting the evidence into Fiona's hand to make it look like she ran out of time beforehand. And then the stare that Dai gets from Miss G is disturbing, beautiful, amazing. It's such a great stare, and it's so creepy, and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. But yeah, the movie alone is worth it for that scene. It's so disturbing, and it's so sad that Fiona is pretty much, she's pretty young, and then to be abused at this school the whole time, and then just to get killed more or less by a rapist is not a great end to a life. And of course, it more or less ends with, because Miss Nevin doesn't want the reputation to be destroyed, she's like, nah, we'll say it's an accidental death. And then Di's like, okay, I'm leaving because this is ridiculous, and Miss G takes a leave of absence, but she probably ends up getting fired more likely than anything else. And now Di is ready to explore the world and become the person Miss G wanted to be, and Miss G's stuck being her damaged, broken, alone set. So, I also like in the movie too when, because Fiona has this complex, like, oh, you know, these girls must want to stay here, they must want to be home. So when Di finally confronts her, saying, you know, Fiona's like, I'm not staying here, you know, I want to go home. And then Di's like, don't you think we all want to go home? Don't you realize that? And I think it's very important that Fiona realizes that, because Fiona's a bit stuck up, I have to say. I mean, they still bully her, which isn't right, but she is a bit stuck up and she thinks she's better than everyone else. I mean, apparently there's a book to this, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to talk about it. But the book, she's actually a princess, so that kind of makes sense why she would have this, she'd feel better, like she's better than everyone else. And this one hints that she's actually a princess, or she is a princess. But, yeah, when she realized, when Di's like, you know, don't you realize we all want to go home? You know, you're not better than any one of us. I think it was very important for Fiona to learn. And maybe had she known that, things probably would have ended up the same, but she wouldn't have been bullied by them as much. I also want to give a shout out to Fozzie. She's the person who performs is so good. Fozzie's basically us. Or Fuzzy, or I've heard his both. I heard Fozzie. Whatever. But she's basically us. She tries so hard, and yet no one notices her. Oh man, I feel so sad for Fozzie. This movie, again, I said it has a great environment. It really engrosses you into it. I want to visit Ireland now, and I want to see this because it's just so beautifully shot. And yeah, Jordan Scott should direct more. She did such a good job with this movie that she should direct more. I think she'd be really good. She'd be as good as her father, and obviously she has interest in films that would be not considered mainstream, or not to have a film everyone would go watch. She seems to want to make films that are good and interesting and very compelling. So, good on you, Jordan Scott. Now go direct another motion picture. I'll support your dream. But yeah, she does an excellent job, and she understands the material, she understands the characters, and she helped, I think, a lot on this movie, and it would have been a very different movie if she wasn't a part of it. And her father and her uncle, I believe, they were executive producers on this. It was a whole family venture, so maybe that helped, but I still think she has enough talent to back it up. Now, this soundtrack, I've noticed it with I said it with other ones, but this soundtrack is actually amazing. I listened to this one outside of the movie, like Kingdom Heaven. I was like, oh, that was good, but no, this one I actually walked to school listening to the music, and I think it was one of the sadder pieces. Oh, when Fiona enters the school, I was playing that whilst going into school, and it made me kind of depressed to be going. But yeah, oh man, this soundtrack is great, and the guy who did this soundtrack is most known for Pan's Labyrinth, which was nominated for an Oscar. So, if this guy knows what he's doing, and he knows how to make creepy, compelling, sad, and beautiful music. And the costume, if Eva Green was ever supposed to be born in a decade, it was the 30s, because she looks great in all these outfits, and everything she wears looks great. And yeah, I'd have to say for the environment, like, especially a lot of the ones on the water or the fields at night, I would take that, put it up on my wall, because it looks so amazing. Well done, everyone. All in all, I think this is a fantastic film. It's one of my favorite films, and I don't see any flaws with the film. Maybe some characters don't get expanded on, but let's be fair, that's not their story. This was my favorite film for the longest time, because I don't know what my favorite film would be now, but Cracks is definitely in my top 10. I love the movie so much, and I think it's so underappreciated. I think you guys should all watch it and experience the beautiful, dramatic, and tragic, and disturbing film that is Cracks. And if you have any hesitations still, well, I've spoiled it now, but if you still have any hesitations, just trust me. Just support Eva Green. This was a movie that made me fall in love with Eva Green, so it might be the movie that makes you fall in love with her if you aren't already. It'll definitely make you think about how destructive boarding schools can be, and that maybe they weren't the best of ideas. Yeah, overall I think this is a perfect film, and then one I will watch every single year, and one I will show to almost everyone I meet because they need to watch it because I'm going to force them, and it needs to get more word of mouth. So yeah, I mean, even if you don't like disturbing stuff, you should watch it because the rest of it is great. That's all I have to say. It's a near perfect film. There's nothing bad I can say about it. Watch it. Everyone, watch it. So that's all I have to say for Cracks. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, let me know what you think of the movie. There's no questions I have to ask, really. Just let me know what you guys think of the film. If you enjoyed it, is it your favorite Eva Green film? I know Casino Royale is a big one. It'd be Cracks and Casino Royale, I think, for me, would be my top Eva Green films. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And join me next time for Womb or Clone, depending on where you are. Now, this movie, I'm just gonna let you know, I don't like it nearly as much as the other ones, but I still think it's an interesting movie nonetheless. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and come back for more Eva Green Month. Farewell for now.